सहनाववतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ॐ श्री चिन्मय सद्गुरवे नमः। 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 16th verse onwards. चतुर्विधा भजन्ते मां जना सुकृतिनोऽर्जुन आर्तो जिज्ञासुरर्थार्थी ज्ञानी च भरतर्षभ। तेषां ज्ञानी नित्ययुक्तः एकभक्तिर्विशिष्यते प्रियो हि ज्ञानिनोत्यर्थम् अहं स च मम प्रियः। उदाराः सर्व एवैते ज्ञानी त्वात्मैव मे मतम् आस्थितः स हि युक्तात्मा मामेवानुत्तमां गतिं। बहूनां जन्मनामन्ते ज्ञानवान् मां प्रपद्यते वासुदेवः सर्वमिति स महात्मा सुदुर्लभः। Bhagwan is introducing his devotees. Just like a king will introduce the people who are very close to him, like that Bhagwan is introducing who are my devotees and who is dearest to me. He said there are 4 types of people who worship me. The main prerequisite for worshipping me, he says, is punya karma of the past. Sukrutinaha means those who have done good punyas in the past lives. They will have this desire to become small in front of the Lord. The main point in all these 4 bhakta is their ego is mellowed down in front of Bhagwan. First devotee is Artha Bhakta. He is faced with some difficult situation in life and he says, Bhagwan, I can't handle this. You take care. That person is Artha Bhakta. Second is Artharthi Bhakta. But in the sequence, Jijnasu Bhakta came. Jijnasu is a seeker of knowledge. He also feels, Bhagwan, on my strength, none of my sadhana can sustain for too long. I am available to do it, but you get it done through me. That is Jijnasu Bhakta. For spiritual growth, he is seeking God's help. Third Bhakta is somebody who wants material things. But his beauty is, he is a pious person, becomes small in front of Bhagavan. Having desire Bhagavan says that is not a concern, that is not a problem. The main problem or the main question is he coming to God or not? And with what bhavana does he come? Without philosophizing any desire, very honestly he puts it in front of Bhagavan. That is Artharthi Bhakta. He says, Bhagavan, I have this desire, please take care of it. We had seen that Artha Bhakta can also become Jijnasu, Artharthi Bhakta can also become Jijnasu. Means Bhagavan also doesn't like that a person remains Artha all the time. Sometimes difficulties might come, we might go. But if every time you are going with some or the other problem, Bhagavan says, I will free that person from this repeated cycle of asking. Desire also, some desires might be there. But if whole life he is only asking desires, that also is something Bhagavan doesn't like. To graduate him from Artha Artharthi to Jijnasu, that is his responsibility. He will do it through Vairagya. He will do it by giving sorrow. He will do it by showing us that these things which we have gotten are really speaking not giving us permanent joy. Then the last Bhakta is Jnani Bhakta, who has understood his essential nature to be essential nature of God. Amongst these four devotees, Bhagavan says everybody is noble. All four devotees are noble for the sole reason that they are coming to me. But Jnani excels all of them because his devotion is single-pointed. If one of you can give chair to Amma, she can sit. Those who can sit down, encourage you all to come in front. That would be nice. Jnani Bhakta has understood oneness with God and his quest is single-pointed. Because he doesn't see duality, in that non-dual truth he is abiding. And Bhagavan says, that is my essential nature only. So Bhagavan goes to the extent of saying, Jnani is my essential nature. If you look in my heart, he says, you will find Jnani. Jnani tu Atma eva me matam. Because Jnani is abiding in the self, which is the essential nature of God also. So Bhagavan says, Jnani is my essential nature. Jnani says, Bhagavan is my essential nature. That is the sweet meeting between Jnani Bhakta and Bhagavan. Means a lot of concepts are cleared here, that one who is walking on the path of knowledge is also a devotee. There is no need to think of these two paths as mutually exclusive paths. Nirguna Bhakta is abiding in that same truth, which is essential nature of God. 19th verse, Bhagavan said, Bahunam janmanam ante. After several lives, one comes to this understanding. Means we have to gain knowledge, then strengthen these Advaita Vedanta samskaras, and come to a point where we see nothing but the truth. What is the nature of his understanding? Vasudeva Sarvamiti. Sarvam refers to world. Does that Sarvam include his body or not? It includes his body. Does it include his mind? It includes his mind. Everything is included in that word Sarvam. I and this world, both are nothing but consciousness. There is only one truth appearing as me and this world, to get this understanding, Bhagavan says it is very, very rare. Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. Such a person is very rare to find. That is why he is dearest to me. Bhagavan is also looking for somebody who has understood him in true essence. Whoever is able to understand him in his unconditioned form, he says that Bhakta, Jnani Bhakta, is very dear to me. Bahunam Janmanam Ante, what it means for us in sadhana is, in this human birth, true measure of progress is how closer do we feel to Bhagavan. We might have started somewhere thinking that Bhagavan is there, Asti. But where is he? Somewhere he is there, but he is there. But to the extent we bring him closer to us and discover our oneness with him, that is the true progress as far as spiritual journey is concerned. And that can take several lives. Bahunam Janmanam Ante. Understanding God as Sakshi. To make it more precise, the one who is witness of thoughts is Bhagavan. 13th chapter, last 8 sessions we have been seeing only one verse. Because Bhagavan Krishna said, Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi. You see this world in front of you? Arjuna said yes. Are you knowing this world? Arjuna said yes. That knower is me. Now there is big problem. Just look at your own experience. Are we knowing this world? Who is knowing this world? What is our experience? I am knowing it. And what is Bhagavan Krishna saying? I am knowing it. Kshetrajñam chapi mam vidhi. He says your finite knowing is an appearance. What is there is pure consciousness. Because of ignorance, we take it to be finite. The one who discovers that infinite truth as one's own true self, Bhagavan says, is very rare. Now the question becomes, if Vasudeva is seated in our own heart, if he is there right here, why don't all surrender to him? If he is so easy to find, why doesn't everybody surrender to him? You see the next verse. Kamaistaistai hritajñānāh prapadyanteñya devatāh tam tam niyamamasthāya prakrutya niyata svaya Kamaistaistai hritajñānāh prapadyanteñya devatāh tam tam niyamamasthāya prakrutya niyata svaya. Kamaihi taitaihi hritajñānāh. Their mind is stolen by desires. Right thinking that I should seek Bhagavan, I should seek the truth, that thinking is taken away by desire. Kamaihi taihi hritajñāna. Hritajñāna means stolen away. Then what happens? Once this desire steals away right thinking, they will take shelter in Devatas. Prapadyante anya devataha. Anya devata means any altar which is considered to be different than God. some finite altar which is considered to be different than that infinite consciousness. Bhagwan, who is all pervading, they hold on to one altar and forget Bhagwan. That one altar, the sentient principle presiding over it, is called as Devata. Simple way to understand Devata is, okay, what is the difference between Isvara and Devata? This is an important point. Isvara is only one. Lord of the universe is only one, who can be worshipped through different forms. So when we say Bhagwan Rama, he is not a Devata. Bhagwan Rama is Isvara. When we say Bhagwan Krishna, Bhagwan Shiva, they are not Devatas, they are Isvara. One consciousness along with total conditioning. Total gross, subtle, causal conditioning is called as Isvara. Now you can worship Isvara through different forms. Bhagwan Shiva could be one form through which we worship. But what is the understanding? Apatala nabastalanta bhuvana brahmanda ma vispurate. That he is that truth. Bhagwan Shiva is that consciousness which pervades his entire Brahmanda. I am worshipping him through this form, but he is not limited to this form. He is not a Jiva, that is the main point. And who is a Devata? Within this infinite creation, to run this creation, Bhagwan appoints certain powers and positions. So that power position given to sun becomes Surya Devata. Different parts of this creation, this ancient principle presiding over it. Chandra Bhagwan, Chandra Devata. Even our body has different Devatas. What is the Devata for hand? Indraha, Hastayor Indraha, Padayor Vishnu. But there we should remember, when it is said, in other words, in some Puranas, when you study that Purana, whichever Purana it is about, that particular deity will become Isvara. And all others will be treated as Devatas. So if you study Shiva Purana, Bhagwan Shiva will be Isvara. Bhagwan Vishnu, Brahmaji, everybody else will become Devatas. If you study Ramayana, Bhagwan Rama will be Isvara. All others will be Devatas. Devatas have limited powers. And Ishvara has infinite power. Another analogy for this is, you have Prime Minister and Cabinet Ministers. So Prime Minister is Ishvara, Cabinet Ministers are Devatas. At any point, Ishvara can undo something that Devatas want to do. This is where we see the story of great rishis like Markandeya Rishi. Markandeya Rishi had 8 years of lifespan. And he was such a great devotee of Bhagwan Shiva, holds on to that Shivalinga, turns the mind towards the Lord. Yamaraja comes, he says 8 years is done. The dramatic story is Bhagwan Shiva emerges from that Shivalinga, takes his Trishul and protects Markandeya. But the point communicated there is, one who has taken shelter in Ishvara, and if Bhagwan wants him to live longer, Devata's power cannot work in that place. Ishvara supersedes all Devatas. So this person whose mind is overpowered by desire, Devatas are quick to find and easy to appreciate. He will go to Devatas. He will not come to God. If you want a more applied version of Devatas, nowadays who goes to Devatas like that, even if you have desires? Wherever there is power and ability to influence, that person becomes Devata. If you want to get some work done, there is a politician. And if desire is strong, that politician will become Devata. At work also you will see, if some work needs to be done, and there is a person who is in a position of power and influence, those whose desires are strong, they will not hesitate to take shelter in that person. India, they say, collector saab aaye hai. If he is on my side, I can do whatever I want. That is our modern context of Devatas. If desire is strong, it will not allow us to think of God. It will go straight to some smaller expression of power. Kamaistaiste hritajnanaha prapadyante anya devataha. Then what does he do there? Tam niyamam asthaya. Whatever that Devata likes, he follows it to the dot. Niyama means rules. Traditional meaning is certain Devatas, you have to offer only that kind of flower. Only this particular Naivedyam. Certain days you have to fast. Everything he does. Why? Because he wants to please that Devata. Tam niyamam asthaya means he is following the disciplines to please that Devata. And how did he choose which kind of Devata? Because there is a spectrum. You will find tamasic altars also, rajasic also, sattvic also. Prakritya niyata swaya. Governed by his own vasanas, governed by his own tendencies, he will find appropriate Devatas. Means Bhagavan says, don't worry about who is doing what. Because everybody does what is there inherent as their swabhava. If swabhava is having tamoguna, that person will find tamasic altar. That's why in the world you will find a spectrum. Little bit you can change here and there, but very quickly we go back to our own swabhava. So he says, focus on your swabhava, don't worry about other swabhava. This is how the world is. Swabhava word we are familiar with, right? Inherent nature which we naturally turn towards. The children generally, if they are living in some residential school, wake up time is 5 o'clock, they'll wake up. And summer holidays, let them come home. 9 o'clock. That is Swabhava. Inherently it is there. Little bit you can do here and there, but it will go back to its original nature. Like that, every person finds an altar according to their taste. See that word, second line, tam niyamam asthaya. Asthaya means he is well established in that niyama. And previously Bhagavan had said, asthita sahi yuktatma. The one who is devotee of God is well rooted in God. That is the difference between these two sadhakas. One who is surrendering to Devatas, his whole attention is, how can I please this Devata? Either it be a person or it be some deity. And one who is devotee of God, his mindset is, how can I be remembering God more and more? That is his bhavana. Now Bhagavan, is it wrong to worship Devatas? Bhagavan says no. if at all that person has faith, that faith is praiseworthy. Today's problem is not blind faith. Our today's problem is lack of faith. If there is blind faith, so be it. At least let him have faith first. You see what Bhagavan says. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah shraddhayarchitum ichchati tasya tasya chalam shraddham tameva vidadhamyaham. Yaha yaha. Yo-yo means yaha yaha, okay? Yo-yo yam yam tanum bhaktah. Whoever be that sadhaka, whichever devatas form he might worship. It might be a tree. In India you will find Grama Devata, the deity that takes care of the village, the town. It might be a tree, it might be a stone. Doesn't matter which altar it is. Yaha yaha yam yam tanum bhaktah. If he has faith, shraddhaya architum ichchati. If he has this desire to worship that devata with faith, what do? Tasya tasya achalam shraddham. I make his faith steady. In that altar alone. I don't pull his faith from that devata and turn towards me. If he does that, then the concept of free will get challenged. Bhagavan says, doesn't matter. Whoever has whichever shraddha in whichever altar, if he has faith, I increase his faith in that altar. Tam eva vidadhamyaham. One commentator he writes, Bhagavan orders his faith. Faith, go back and stay in that person. Vidadhamyaham means he orders, he commands it. The easiest thing to lose is faith. If he has found it in some altar, Bhagavan says, I don't shake it. On the contrary, I increase his faith. Okay, how can you increase somebody's faith in something? By fulfilling whatever they are seeking. If somebody has a desire and they approach some devata, do all the niyamas, how will their faith in that devata increase? When they get what they want. Faith in any person increases in that way only. When we put some responsibility, give some responsibility, that person fulfills it. Then our faith in that person increases. Parents' faith in children increases when they do what we tell them to do. Pocket money, how does it increase? This is the smaller amounts, if they've handled it well, we will trust them with bigger amounts. That is the same way, devotees' faith in Devata increases. Bhagavan says, I am not jealous. If people are going to Devatas and they are seeking some worldly thing from them, although I only have appointed these Devatas, I don't mind it. I give them those results through those Devatas so that their faith increases in their altar of faith. If Bhagavan doesn't mind it, why should we mind it? Because we will see people worshipping different things. Some worship stones, different day, different color. That is their Devata. He says that one should not shake that faith. tasya tasya chalam shraddham tam eva vidadhami aham. This particular verse, you will not find a better expression of secularism than this verse. In that first line which is there, yo yo yam yam tanum bhaktah, whoever worships whichever devata, include altars of all religions. It could be a cross, it could be some other altar. If a person worships it with faith, Bhagavan says he increases that faith in their particular altar. Main point is, have you become small in front of the Lord, in front of that devata? Now he says, there is one point which we should remember. Although results are coming from devatas, the real giver of result is Bhagavan only. He is giving through the devata. Devata doesn't have independent ability to give result. See the next verse. Sataya shraddhaya yuktah tasya radhanamihate labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. Sataya shraddhaya yuktah tasya radhanamihate labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. If a person has faith in devata, he prays to that devata and his prayers are answered, what happens? His faith increases. With that increased faith, he worships even more. First he was fasting fortnightly. Now he starts fasting every week. Because he knows, if I do that, I will get what I want. Saha taya shraddhaya yuktah. Endowed with that increased faith, tasya aradhanam ihate. He starts worshipping that devata with greater faith. Aradhana means he starts reveling. He says, whatever I want, I can get from my devata. Labhate cha tatah kaman. These are all Bhagavan's Vani. If somebody does upasana, they will get those results what they are seeking. Sometimes we worship or we appreciate the power of karma. If you work hard, you will get what you want. But many times we miss the power of upasana. In addition to working hard, if we can meditate upon some higher altar, that result can get multiplied. All examples we see in Puranas, they are to demonstrate this point only. Drupada wanted a son who can finish Dronacharya. He didn't work hard, did a yajna, upasana, and got Drishtadyumna. You'll find both examples. Some examples are the goal was not right. We don't have to take that part of it. Main point here is upasana gave extraordinary results. Amba example also, upasana balam. But you have great Mahatmas, they have siddhis. Annapurna Devi upasana, different upasana. Will never run out of food. It is said Udiya Babaji had this. In Orissa, there was a famine and he left his town. And he said, I will worship God in such a way that nobody will remain hungry. And throughout his life, other things were not very exorbitant in the place that he lived. But one thing went on was Anna Santarpanam. Doesn't matter how many people come, someday 10,000, sometimes 500. Food will never fall short. Somebody asked him what was the secret of this. He said, this is Annapurna Devi's blessing. Finances for food in our place never fell short. So upasana can be used in both ways. But the main point here is labhate cha tatah kaman. He will get what he has desired for. But who gave it to him? Maya eva vihitan hitan. I alone give those results through the Devatas. If we have this idea clear, understanding clear, then even Devatas worship will become bhakti. But if we consider them as Anya Devata, God is different, Devatas are different, then we will fall into this category, what Bhagwan is describing. There is one nice story that I had heard. It explains this point well. What is the point? That we might get result from some person, some altar, some devata, but giver is not that person or devata. Giver is Bhagwan only. I've shared this before, that story. There is a small boy. His mother was working. When this boy came home from school, nobody would be there at home. So she would make a sandwich, put it in the fridge, and tell the boy, take this sandwich from the fridge when you come back from school. Now some work travel came, mother had to travel. She told the boy, I have to go out for a few days. I will tell our neighbor to make sandwich and keep. And this boy said, why do you need to tell neighbor? Sandwich comes from fridge, right? Because he has never seen mother make that sandwich. According to him, sandwich comes from fridge. He never saw who kept it there. He said that is our condition sometimes. If we get a promotion letter signed by the boss, and somebody asks us, who gave you promotion? What is our answer? Boss gave me promotion. It is like that boy saying, sandwich came from fridge. The one who has given each and every person their abilities, that is that one truth alone. Any karma phala that comes through the Lord. That comes from the Lord, might come through somebody. There are two extremes we have to avoid. One extreme is, we start feeling people will give us karma phala. If we want something, some other person will give it to us. So our ashraya becomes in that person. That is one extreme. Another extreme is, person might feel, I don't listen to people because I listen only to God. That is another extreme. God will speak through people only. If Bhagwan has to tell us something, Bhagwan has to give us something. If you always wait, Bhagwan will come and sign that letter and give. You will always keep waiting. Any karma phala for that matter. But if we start feeling, this person alone is giving me things, that extreme also is to be avoided. So what is the main point here? Results will come through somebody, but it is coming from God. Holding on to that understanding, he says, whichever altar we worship, in that altar, our faith will be strengthened. Labhate cha tatah kaman mayaiva vihitan hitan. In Sundarkanda, there is a nice example for this, how to avoid two extremes. That portion when Angad loses hope on the shore of the ocean, he says, further there is an ocean, behind there is Sugriva waiting to finish us. Both sides we are finished. I think I was not the right choice for the leader. Such thoughts he has. Jambanji comes and tells him, there is one fundamental mistake in your thinking. What is your mistake? You think Sugriva is your leader, whereas your true leader is Bhagwan Rama. He has given you some work. To accomplish that work is his responsibility. You are reporting to Sugriva, no doubt, but your leader is Bhagwan Rama. Another extreme, I will listen only to God, not to people. Hanumanji was the greatest devotee of Bhagwan Rama, but he reports to Sugriva. When he finishes all the tasks, he doesn't go and tell Bhagwan directly, I did it. First he goes and meets Sugriva. He says, Maharaj, whatever you told me, that I did. Now he says, let's go to Bhagwan. So both perspectives are clarified in this verse. Don't get attached to a person, and not to forget, God alone gives through a person. Now Bhagwan says, what is wrong in worshipping Devata? Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi Antavattu phalam tesham tadbhavatyalpamedhasam devan devayajo yanti madbhakta yanti mamapi. Those who have sought certain things from Devatas, what is their limitation? Antavattu phalam tesham. Those results which they have sought, they are all finite results. At some point, either that desire will go away, or at some point, that thing will start losing its relevance. Some new desire will come. Antavattu phalam tesham tad bhavati alpamedasam. Those who have sought worldly things from Devatas, very quickly they'll realize there is no end to this asking. And whatever we have gotten by asking, that charm of that thing has gone away. Devan devayajo yanti. Those who worship Devatas, they will reach Devatas. Mad bhakta yanti mamapi. Those who have worshipped me will reach me. Madhusudana Saraswati ji says, the effort involved in both these things is similar. To please the Devata, to please God. Same effort. Bhakta also has to do some niyamas. He also needs to have disciplined routine, life surrounding God. But fortunately, there is more flexibility here. Devatas worship, lot of discipline, do's and don'ts. Here it is bhava pradhana. So he says, if you have 20, 30 years of sadhana life, why would somebody seek finite result and exhaust all their time in that pursuit? Whereas somebody who has sought God, their yogakshema is taken care by God, and their end result is attainment of Bhagwan, which is a permanent result. He says, think about this. For this verse, Pujya Guruji had shared one small story. He said there was a king who was very proud of how he is taking care of all his subjects. He goes to his guru and says, I am taking care of my citizens so well. Guru understands his pride. He says, let's go for a walk. Takes him to a village. And there was an elderly lady. She was carrying wooden sticks on her head. Guru says, how are you helping this lady? He says, I can carry her load. So he goes and asks her, carries it. Now she had a long distance to go. How far can he carry? After some time he said, okay, now I give it back to you, and he went. Guru said, did you see what you did? You took away her load for some time, but gave it back to her. He says, this is Jiva's style of helping. If he has taken away somebody's sorrow, that is antavattu phalam tesham. Jiva cannot take away somebody's sorrow for good. But if Isvara is helping somebody, that result is permanent result. If Bhagwan removes fear in devotee's heart, it is not for few days, few years. It is for good. He says, you decide, whom do you want to worship? Limited result, Devatas, or infinite result, Isvara. But Devata example also we have to appreciate. Because somebody might say, I never worship Devatas. Any altar of power and position. It could be some person also. Result coming from that is impermanent. That person himself is impermanent. If we take ashraya in an impermanent person, no permanent result can come. Now Bhagwan is a little bit upset. He says, in spite of so much of teaching, still people don't understand me. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajanantah mamavyayamanuttama avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mama buddhayah param bhavamajanantah mamavyayamanuttama. Abuddhayah manyante. Those who don't have Shastriya vision, those who have not studied in Sampradaya, that is referred by Abuddhayah. They consider in this way. What do they consider? Avyaktam vyaktim apannam. I am that consciousness which never becomes an object of knowledge. And they think that consciousness has become an individual. Vyaktim means individual. Means they look upon me also as a jiva. Whenever Bhagwan takes avatara, in every avatara he reminds us, I look like a jiva, but I am not a jiva. So Madhusudana Saraswati ji writes, even if there is an ignorant person, looking at Leelas of Bhagwan, he should be able to understand he is not a jiva. Jiva cannot lift Govardhana mountain. Jiva cannot give richness to Sudama unasked. Several examples he gives. Madhusudana Saraswati ji's commentary is very sweet. In one page, he will be discussing very technical concepts of Advaita Vedanta. Right next page, he will be discussing Puranas and Itihasa and stories. Sweet blend of both. He says, that person who considers me as a jiva, he says he is not understanding me correctly. Even when I appear as an embodied form, I am not ignorant about my true form. Ramcharitmanas, time and again Bhagwan reminds us. You might see Saundarya in the Lord, His beauty, His form. You might see His Saulabhya, ease of access. but don't forget his Mahatmya. He is that pure consciousness which is presiding over entire creation. We are chanting Gopika Geet. Gopis mention, Nakhalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan. He says, Oh Bhagwan, we know that you are not son of Yashodaji alone. Then who are you? Akhila Dehinam Antaratmadruk. You are that inner witness of all jivas. Whom we call as Drashta, Gopis say that is Bhagwan Krishna. Antaratmadruk means inner witness, not only of us, Akhila Dehinam, of each and every jiva, you are that inner witness. But those who don't have this traditional knowledge, they have not systematically studied, they have their own conceptions about me. You will find this, and these are not some exemplary ideas or things you don't find in this society. You will find many people saying, Bhagwan Rama was a great person. He had a lot of values, but they will not say he was Isvara. And analyze a lot of things which he has done. You should remember these words. Avyaktam vyaktimapannam manyante mam abuddhaya. They think I am also a jiva. Param bhavam ajanantah. Without knowing my higher form, essential nature, which is devoid of conditionings. Mama avyayam anuttamam. Avyayam means unchanging and unexcelled. Anuttamam means unexcelled. Uttamam is excelled. Anuttamam, don't translate it as not excelling. Anuttamam means unexcelled form. That they don't know as that pure consciousness which is devoid of any attributes. Can God appear with form? Of course he can. Does that mean his essential nature as formless is affected by it? No. Without undergoing any change, he can appear with form. Holding on to that form, we can reach his essential nature. First verse of Shivamahimna Stotram. He says, all this nirguna form is difficult for a sadhaka to turn mind towards. But in your beautiful form as Bhagwan Shiva, whose mind will not get attracted? But he says, don't hold on to one or the other and become fanatic about it. One commentator he has written a very beautiful line. He says, we are familiar with Pancha Mahabhutas, right? Let us take fire, for example. You have manifest fire in the form of Agni. Do you have unmanifest fire also? Yes, in the form of Rupa. Wherever you see a form, that form is because of fire. So he says, if Pancha Mahabhuta like fire can have form and without form, why can't Isvara be with form and without form? But if we say only one form alone is absolute reality, this is the verse which is trying to help us grow out of that understanding. Param bhavam ajanantah mama avyayam anuttamam. This chapter has a very meandering path. Suddenly it will talk about devotion, then it will go into Advaita Vedanta. Few more verses we will see in the next class. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namah. Harihi Om.